Hello, I'm Captain Jason Burns, and welcome to this episode of Sobremesa. Today with us we have our board chair, Jamie Head, and we're going to be sharing a little bit about his life, the story of how his life has intersected the Salvation Army, and I heard we have some delicious cake coming up here at the end. And so thank you for joining us on this episode of Sobremesa. Hey, Jamie, how are you?
Very good.
It's good to see you today.
Thrilled to be here.
Welcome to our new studio.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's a work in progress, but we're excited about this studio and this space, and excited for you to be here as our second guest.
I'm thrilled. I see my name is up there and everything. So
Yeah.
I feel very welcome.
Yeah, I had staff that did the writing of that.
Is that your handwriting?
No, it would be a little bit more of a chicken scratch. So, but it's great to have you, and thank you for bringing in this beautiful dessert, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But just kind of want to start off. Tell us about your life. So, what we want to do in these videos is that we want to talk about how life intersects with the Salvation Army, but we really want to get to know people and their journeys and how they've come to where they are in life, and then a little bit about the Salvation Army intersection. But I really just want to know a bit about you and where you've come from, your journey. I know you've got an incredible story of your journey from, where you've gone from continents to left coast to east coast to Europe and then back again. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. I am from Alabama. I was born in Birmingham, which is where my father's family all is from. When we were 7, I moved to Washington, D.C. And when, I think when I was probably 11 or 12, my dad, who, is Alabama boy, couldn't get any barbecue that he liked. And so he stopped doing
I understand that.
what he had been doing and opened a barbecue restaurant.
Cool.
So in a lot of ways, I kind of grew up working in my dad's place.
As a smoke pit
busboy.
guy.
It was a smoke. Yeah, exactly right. Every job from a busboy to a waiter to the kitchen, and really sort of top to bottom. And my little sister and I think my sister was a hostess. At like 10 years old. So
that's cool.
Grew up working in that restaurant. When I went to college, I went to college at the University of Virginia, close to here, which is how I eventually wound up here in Richmond. And that was the first time that I had come across the Salvation Army. I kind of had the idea of the Salvation Army in my head. I think I saw Guys and Dolls and had a vision of people running gambling halls inside of...
chasing wagons,
exactly.
And drunkards cleaning up the streets and all that.
Exactly. But in Charlottesville, there's an excellent Salvation Army, and I thought I could volunteer, and because I had worked in the restaurant, I did know how to work in a kitchen.
Yeah.
They have a great kitchen at that army, and I spent a summer volunteering early in the morning doing cooking with them.
Yeah.
Which felt pretty natural because by that point I think I had decided I wasn't going to work in the barbecue restaurant anymore. But I did have at least some basic short order skills. Yeah. And it was a first class operation, and we cooked some very good food. Yeah. I mean, part of what, and I think I was kind of paid because I ate my lunch there every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we made fried chicken. It was I distinctly remember how good the food was, and part of the job was the restaurants would bring food almost every day, and you got to reorganize the freezer, the stock, and kind of decide what you need to cook now and what can be put in the back of the freezer, and to sort of maintain that. And frankly, I just left with this great feeling, and it was a great summer. I felt very connected to it. It felt like they were really doing a good job, and the people liked the food. And I remember thinking, well, this isn't a sad place at all. This is a happy place. And again, frankly, I'd love to have lunch there today. If that were an option, I'd do it. I'd do it every day. So I did that for a summer. When I got out of college, I stayed for law school, so I went to law school. When I got out of the law school, I joined the Navy as a JAG, as a lawyer in the Navy.
And what does JAG stand for? For those who might not know.
Judge Advocate General.
Judge Advocate General.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've seen, like A Few Good. There's some movies, A Few Good Men. Some people have seen.
You want the
basically
truth?
I'm Tom Cruise.
Gotcha.
Just so
Okay.
we're clear.
You look as good.
Exactly. So I was like a defense attorney, just like he was in that movie,
Gotcha.
and I'd help people with, when they bought a used car that broke on the way off the lot, and when they were having trouble with their landlord, or I helped sailors and Marines essentially with all of their legal problems. I was the free resource on base.
Would that include like wills and
Oh,
things like that?
I think my first year I wrote 1,000 wills.
Gotcha.
All for people with no property. So, it's a little bit less
pretty
pressure.
simple.
It's pretty much like, well, you don't have anything. Would you like your mom to have it? Because they're mostly, 18-year-old kids.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, I would like my mom
Benefits
to have
and
it. I
things
could do
like
that.
that. Yeah.
And before they'd ship out or whatever.
Gotcha.
So I did that.
And where'd you serve at in that?
I was out in the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
I was on a little naval air station outside of Seattle.
Okay.
And my wife and I, who is my high school sweetheart. Okay,
Oh,
so
sweet.
My wife and I went to law school together, and when she got out, she didn't know where we were going to live because of the Navy, and she ran the little local legal aid, which is legal services for poor people essentially, on that in Island County, Washington, for the couple years that we were out there. And my wife has always been in our bargain of who does what. My job has been to be like, when I got out of the Navy, I kept practicing law. I was like a corporate lawyer, So my job has been to sort of try to make the money, and then Christy's job has sort of been to get us into heaven. So she's
Gotcha.
done. She does
the good stuff, and you
abused women and families, and
Gotcha.
she's done a whole host of nonprofit work.
Yeah.
And part of the plan when I asked to get involved here in Richmond with the Army was I thought, well, I'm not sure that's actually going to work. Like,
You
I
need to do
kinda
some
need
good
to
too.
contribute something as well. I'm not. I mean,
Yeah.
what if Christy gets sick of me and doesn't,
Yeah.
put in a good word for me?
Yeah, I understand.
When it counts. So, I had, and there was an interim period where you mentioned when we were in London with my law firm. I work on essentially big infrastructure projects, mostly in emerging markets. So a lot of stuff in Africa, a lot of stuff in Eastern Europe, a lot of projects with financing from the World Bank. So they're development projects that there are international organizations trying to support to build economies. Essentially. In our office in London is very close to St. Paul's Cathedral.
Yeah.
Which
right
is
down the street from
right next to the international headquarters.
Yeah.
And I would walk by it frequently.
They have a great coffee shop,
Almost
by the
every
way,
day
if
in
you're
the-
there.
in the
They
Army.
serve dessert there as well. So
Oh, really?
they do.
Okay. It looks like it's a beautiful building.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
right on the Thames. It's right in the heart of the old city of London.
Right off of Millennial Bridge, I believe
Exactly
it is.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. I would walk by it almost every day. I would get off the tube and I would walk to my office building. And when we knew we were coming back to Virginia, I walked by it one day, and I felt a little moved, thinking, I should get involved when I get home. I needed something to look forward to when I came home.
Yeah.
And I took a picture on my iPhone, of the headquarters, and I emailed it to the former chair of the board, who I had talked to before I had left, about if there was any way I could help the Army. And I said, to Scott, can I when I get home, can I help in any way? I would like to volunteer. And when I did, the Army, called me up and said, yeah, there is stuff that you could do, actually.
Yeah.
And so I wound up, joining the board and have been on for, I think, since I got back. So 2.5 years, I think, at this point. And it's been a fabulous experience. Exactly similar feeling to that I had when I, did my little bit in Charlottesville, which is we're doing real work and actually helping people, and it creates a very happy place. It can create a very happy place for people who are not in a very happy point in their lives.
Yeah.
And this room sort of reminds me of that exact feeling, which is this is a lovely space, and so I've been very, very, very pleased and very proud to be part of the work that this part of the Salvation Army is doing. And I look forward to doing it in the years to come.
Well, I've just announced to you that you're now going to be the head of our breakfast club, and so you'll come and cook breakfast for us every day.
That's good.
Put your short order cook skills to work.
Yeah.
No, just we're my wife and I, of course, we got here last June,
right.
And we're very welcomed into this community, and just have really been amazed at the support from the board to the Salvation Army, and the work that has gone on for years here. Talk with me a bit about being on a board. Like you've been on our board a couple years. I know you've been on other boards. And what is it about that service of serving on a nonprofits board or even a for-profit board of what is it for you that is important aspect of that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I have been on some good boards and I've been on some bad boards in my life. And part of what I love about the advisory board is the advisory board manual that I was giving at the beginning of it. It's like everything the Army does. It's there's so much accumulated wisdom in how the board should operate, and in particular, I have been so pleased and impressed with the way that the skills of the different board members have been put to actual good use by the Army in a very efficient way. I would say my hours of contribution to impact are much higher than on most boards that I feel like I have been asked when it would be useful to have the expertise that of a lawyer on a particular matter. I've been asked in a very efficient way I'm thinking more of the committee work associated with the board, but that is the sign of a well-organized machine. And so it's been a pleasure. I spent most of the time I've been on the board on the property committee, which is led by somebody who knows a tremendous amount about commercial, real estate development and managing properties. And then on that committee, I've gotten to work very closely with the full-time staff of the Army as well as the officers, and have just been impressed across the board with the care and thought and, frankly, just good decision-making that's been done in order to protect the Army and to help it accomplish its mission. All with, the advisory board, we just are kind of offering a little bit of advice when it's requested. I mean, the Army certainly, my impression is there's a ton of expertise within the Army, and it's well led, really top to bottom. But it's nice to have occasionally, an expert on a narrow question that you can call. And so I've very much enjoyed both the committee work as well as I've enjoyed getting to know my peers on the advisory board. It's an interesting cross section of our region. And I think very highly of a lot of them. All of them.
Well, it kind of segues, the property committee kind of segues into a little bit of my next question. Last summer, I came to you towards the end of the summer and said, would you be interested in serving as the chairman? After I picked you up off the floor,
I think I came up with a list of about 4 or 5 people that would have been better at it, but...
Yeah, I think you did, but that's okay. No,
you were stuck with.
No, we were. It was been neat to have that conversation, but you've accepted the chairmanship, and you've been the chairman of our advisory board for about 2 months now, I think.
That's right.
That is. So we won't ask that question, but as the chairman of our advisory board, what is coming up for us? Like, we've got a couple things that we, of course, obviously are coming up. But what do you see the Salvation Army kind of moving towards in our future? And what role do you think the board plays in that? And then you specifically as that leader? I know that's a big 5-point question.
I think that, so I feel like when I came on the board, we were on the back end of a major transformative project that had really subsumed the life of the board and was, frankly, a huge success, which was the Boys and Girls Club.
Beautiful facility.
A truly moving and impactful contribution to that neighborhood and to the city.
And really, it's transformative.
It's transformative
Yeah.
for the, I mean, the children in the pool, pictures alone, I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like
It's great.
So I came on, they had accomplished that. It was sort of the finishing off the last tasks related to that. And then at the same moment, they were sort of also catching their breath and thinking, okay, now comes the next big project, which we are now focused on entirely, which is the Center of Hope, which is going to be this, I think in some ways this little room is the start, and you're going to grow out from here until this whole space feels like this room.
We are in our Center of Hope, future Center of Hope, and we're almost in the heart of the building, as we sit here, so yeah.
So the board's job is going to be to help the Army raise the money that we need to make this building on Chamberlain Avenue into something like what we did on the Police Boys and Girls Club, except for families and for adults. So it's going to be a center of hope. And the idea is that we're going to not just in a transactional way house people overnight when they don't have another place to sleep, but to actually create an environment where families and also men can connect with God and to find within themselves and from their friends at the Army the courage and a path and a way towards a happier and healthier life.
Yeah.
And I think that the job of the board and my job is going to be to focus like a laser on finding the members of our community who can put their resources to work on that mission. And I know that we can do that.
Yeah.
So we are in the middle, as you know. You have selected professionals to help us mobilize the funds that we need to develop the funds that we need. And I think the board's chief job, in some ways, is going to be to connect the Army and the professionals that understand how to raise this type of money with the members of our community who can make this vision, this multi-year vision, multi-board vision, multi officer. I mean, I know you've picked up the baton.
Yeah.
Make it a reality. So, I think that my plan is to spend my time as chair making sure that biggest task that the board is focused on that, as well as doing the other support that we need to do. But I think that's what you need from us, and I hope that we can do it.
Yeah. Well, I know we can do it. Like, I know we have a tremendous amount of support and from board members, from the community, and I know that we can get it accomplished. When you think about the Center of Hope, what's the one element that you would that you are kind of fascinated about? Like, we talk about, you talked about transactional, where someone comes in, they sleep, and they leave. And we're trying to shift to, I think the word we're using is transitional. But when you look at that kind of whole scope, and we're talking about programming, what is maybe one element that you're really excited about, that difference making in that new building?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's hard for me. I've got 3 children. It's been a strange year with COVID. Spent a lot of time at home, more than I have normally, and have a greater appreciation than ever for a lot of the work that my wife has done to make our home happy and safe and an environment where children can thrive.
Yeah.
And I think that this Center of Hope can create, and the other thing I will say is, having drugged my children now all over the world, and I know you did that as well.
Yeah.
I am amazed at how flexible children can be and resilient they can be, as long as some adult is also feeling confident and happy.
Yeah, stable.
And stable. It's
Yeah.
a stability thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of the logistics of where the children sleep and things, kids don't really care.
We worry more about that than they do, don't
Without
they?
a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. And so if we can create a space where a mother or a parent or a caregiver can have less anxiety and have a clearer vision of a more positive future and a path forward,
Yeah.
that will immediately be absorbed by the children. And I'm confident of that. And it won't matter that this is, this isn't the Ritz-Carlton.
Yeah.
They won't even know. They won't care. If we can create a space for the parent, I think that will pay dividends. And I think the word stability is really, it's a core emotional stability,
Yeah.
Not just of like having your own house.
Yeah.
And I think if we can do that, it'll pay dividends in that young person's life, possibly for the rest of their life,
Yeah.
and maybe even their children's life. So,
Yeah.
it's a huge opportunity.
The Center of Hope could be a sort of catalyst to change. I think I use the word trajectory of someone's life, and that's our vision and our hope as well. Is that not just with families, but also with the men that we work with, the single fathers that come with their children as well. It's just, we have lots of different people that come to our door, and so we're excited about that project. Well, now I think we got into the best part of the conversation, right? So of course, Sobremesa is like that conversation and dessert, and you have brought a wonderful dessert for us today. Tell us a little bit about this and maybe a story that connects to you.
There's a fantastic, it's funny because I did grow up in this restaurant family. So, I just love restaurants. And Richmond has a fabulous restaurant.
It's awesome, yeah.
I think, it's funny when the folks that are filming, when I brought in the bag, they said, oh, Stella's. Because Stella's is on the short list of best restaurants in the city. Really, I think it's one of the best restaurants in the world, and I really mean it. The Stella's family. It's from Richmond. It's Greek food, and they've opened up a series of kind of like they're little grocery stores, but with a host of Greek food. And so,
how did I not know about this? You're failing me on the board,
we
President.
need to
take me to these
immediately
places.
Rectify this.
Gotcha.
We can start with the cake, but you got to move on to the moussaka soon. So this is Richmond landmark Stella's.
And we have, I think, is this German chocolate cake or double chocolate?
It's funny, you asked me. That's certainly chocolate, and with some sort of coffee-esque.
Okay.
Oh, wait, well, you're not supposed to drink coffee. I just remembered that.
Well, I'll cheat for today.
If it's mixed in with chocolate, maybe
I'm not drinking it.
It's okay. And this one had all sorts of raspberry, Prosecco, something or other, but a million different. I picked it because it was beautiful.
I'll tell you what, how about I'll take a bite of one, and you take a bite of one, and then we'll trade. Is that okay?
Let's do it.
All right. Cheers.
Oh, man.
That's really good. None of this might make it home to my wife, though.
I did bring it home last night, and 3 different children said, "Whoa, where's that?" I'm like, "Well, this is not for you." It's delicious.
That is amazing. So Stella's. I'll have to look that up. Maybe not go for dessert. I'll go for a full meal.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for this conversation.
Thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you.
And you've got a wonderful team and a wonderful mission. And I'll just say at the end that I am constantly inspired by the officers of the Salvation Army and the devotion that you have done with your life to helping people. So,
well, thank you.
God
You're
bless
going to
you.
make me cry. It wasn't the sweetness of the dessert. No, thank you so much for being our feature for this month, and we're looking forward to the next few years of our lives together, intersecting on this project, but just as we live life together. So anyway, thank you so much for coming.